Hey, what's up, guys? How are you all doing today? Today's topic is going to be very important, right? It's about personal responsibility. Like, why is it so important? Right? A lot of people, especially today, they rail against personal responsibility, calling it prudish, and it's overly simplistic, and there are many factors involved for a person's success that have absolutely nothing to do with personal responsibility. And while they acknowledge that personal responsibility supposedly in their minds plays a role, it almost like all the other factors overshadow personal responsibility, and they use that as an excuse for why they're not succeeding in life. And success, by the way, doesn't necessarily have to be like you're making $100,000 a year, or you have a multi-million dollar corporation or anything like that. Success has many different ways. It comes in many different forms. So it's not like just this one thing that's like you're a CEO of a company and you're making $5 million a year or so. That's not the only way of success. But anyways, why is it important to adopt personal responsibility? It's important because it helps you to stay in control of your own life, right? Um, this doesn't mean that you are ignorant of outside forces, right? It does not mean that you are ignorant of macro sociological explanations. Obviously, those are valid. Nobody is invalidating that. In fact, I mean, why would I invalidate those things? I have my bachelor's in sociology, and so why would I invalidate sociological explanations for people's miseries and things like that? But at the end of the day, you have to be the one who is capable of responding to the situation, and constantly blaming outside forces for your own misfortune is not useful, right? The only time when you should, I mean, if you are going to use outside forces as explanations for why you're not successful, then you have to be willing to use that data to understand the system in order for you to work your way through it, right? And this has always applied throughout history, even in the severest periods of, economic depression, racial discrimination, things like that. And obviously, this doesn't mean that we shouldn't try to make things better at the systematic or societal levels, but we are also made up of individuals, right? We are not just made up of collections of groups, and that's it. We are also our own persons, right? So, in other words, it's very useless to just worry so much about things that you can't control in order for you to try to control them, because you don't have the power to control them. What you need to use that data for is to help you understand how the system works so you can better navigate it. And then, and only then, will you have an inkling of an ability to try to change the system. If you don't have any power or intelligence or wisdom to create such a revolution that will bring about those changes that you're looking for, then you need to do it the regular way, right? Let me give you guys a personal story. I have one person that I know. I'm not going to say who she is, but working with her, collaborating with her on so many things. She is the kind of person who just always externalizes, or almost always externalizes, the the reasons for why she's not capable of achieving many things, right? And obviously, this individual, she has a history of trauma. Um, she has a history of like abuse and things like that, and obviously, that is not a good thing that has happened to her. I wish her the best. I wish that she is able to go to therapy and just deal with that issue so she can move on. Um, but it doesn't seem like she is choosing that path. She uses that as an excuse to be held down in her life, and what that has caused her to do is like constantly commit all these blunders and mistakes in the way that she does things, whether it's at her job or at her school or even in her personal life. She seems to be an extremely reckless person who can never ever take responsibility for her actions. And I use this as an example to demonstrate that this is just one example of many people who behave like this, especially in today's society. And she is somebody who just always sees conspiracies against her, even though she doesn't use those words. But nothing is ever her fault. Even when multiple credible sources point out the mistakes that she makes, she always has an explanation that is ready to excuse that away, right? Whether it's her ADHD, or maybe it's her personality quirk, or maybe it's because of some sort of external factor, like this person said this to her, or that person said that to her. In other words, it's never her fault. It's always somebody or something else's fault. And if you guys have the opportunity to observe such individuals, they're not very happy. They are the least happiest people on planet Earth. And this is the reason why you have to learn to take as much personal responsibility as you can for your own life. This doesn't mean that you take responsibility for others. This is why a lot of people, I feel like, they are, they're so afraid of adopting personal responsibility, and they use the macro explanation because they think, oh, well, I'm not responsible for all of society. Well, no, you're not, and you shouldn't be, right? You're responsible for yourself at the end of the day. And so you have to be able to figure out why you are in the situation that you are in and solve that issue. In the book The Art of War by Sun Tzu, it talks about conquering, battles, and it shows that one of the strategies is you conquer little by little until you win the whole war. So you're not trying to win the whole war in one fell swoop. But that's what a lot of people expect, especially younger people, like in college or in high school. But reality is you can't do that, right? Very few people are capable of doing that. You're not one of them. So I'm not one of them either. So you have to be able to conquer things little by little until you get enough experience to have that power to rise up the ranks and to institute the changes that you want to institute. And you don't even have to do that. A lot of times when people see your competence, they are willingly going to put you in those positions because they want you to fix their problems. Hopefully this was helpful to you guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Take care.